Hello everyone, Brimguard here again, and I'm bringing you another Exo Zombies video. This time we're playing the new map, Carrier, in which one of the old characters disappears and is replaced by the new character. So there's potential spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled by anything, now's the time to duck out. So as we learned from the intro cutscene to this map, Oz is the one who got shot and eliminated, so he's no longer in your party. Instead, he's replaced with Bruce Campbell. Now, that's a pretty sweet trade-off if you ask me, and some of us were kind of ticked that Oz was removed, and we're really hoping that we could have him stick around a little bit longer. Not to worry if you were a fan of John Malkovich, because he does still do voice work for this map. Now, as you can see, we're just kind of getting the early rounds started here. We're building up some points and working on getting the first couple doors opened. There's actually 2 spawn points that you can start at in this one. This one is gun deck on this side, and the other spawn room is hangar. This is a little different than some of the previous maps, but it's fun. It promotes some more teamwork, and usually if you're playing with 2 people, actually all the time if you're playing with 2 people, you'll spawn in the same spawn room, and really it only divides you up if you have more than that. So not to worry if you play solo or if you play 2 people at a time. It's not really going to affect you too much. Now, as you can see, a little bit different from the previous map, there's not so many of the special zombies right away. I think that's due to the fact that it takes a little bit longer to build up and get your exosuit in this map. So they're kind of giving you a little bit of a breather, so you don't have to worry too much when you're trying to fight off the zombie hordes here at the beginning. They're definitely a little slower, a little more of the normal zombies before you get into anything too hairy. Now, here you can see a couple of the panels and different items on the wall. You'll see that later. There's some new grenades. On the wall over here is the grenade slot disposal. And you can actually throw the grenades into it and they'll bounce down and give you different credit amounts. Right there's 200. It ranges from 100 to 1,000, and it's kind of random what you get. And that machine actually comes into play later in the Easter egg, but that's not going to be covered in this video. The printer always spawns in this room. This is your armory. This is sort of like the central hub to the map. Most of the other rooms will actually have doorways that you can get back to this room and to the other rooms through this room. It's pretty much your weapon central, as it's the very first box spawn location. It has Exo Soldier ability up top. It has the teleportation grenades, the contact grenades, a wall weapon. I think it's the HBR on the wall over there. And it also has the only upgrade station for the entire map. Now here we just got a little bit lucky. This is the wonder weapon for this map. It's called the LZ-52 Limbo. And as you can see, when you fire it, it just puts out this horizontal beam of death that just reaches out and destroys everything in its path. It's actually pretty powerful, but if you don't keep up on the upgrades with it does stop becoming a one-shot kill pretty quickly in the upper rounds. I know in the mid to late 20s, it definitely needs to be at least a Mark 8 or 9 to keep doing the maximum damage that you would want out of the Wonder Weapon. Now, the Cell 3 Cauterizer is back as well. I don't believe that's in this gameplay footage, but it has returned, so that's pretty much every map that's been in. They've also added a couple other weapons that's from the other DLC in this. You can get the M1 Irons pistols that are a dual pistol setup, and you can also get the OHM, or the OHM, which is an directed energy LMG with a shotgun secondary mode. They don't function at the same time. You actually transform the gun into either an LMG or a shotgun. It's actually a very useful weapon in this. As you can see, we actually get the return of normal dog rounds in this, instead of in the Burger Town Infection map, where they were kind of mixed in with the other rounds. I like this a lot better. It gives you a better feel of pacing to the map. and doesn't feel like you quite have so much going on all the time. Sometimes the other map kind of, it could feel a little bit overwhelming, and there really wasn't a lot to do in the infection map. It's like, you know, you open Burger Town and, well, that's it. I really feel like in this map there's a lot of places to go. There's this grenade disposal to play with that's actually a lot of fun. You'll see me shoot grenades into it randomly a lot of times throughout this gameplay. Now, several times through this gameplay, you might be able to hear Bruce Campbell on the side there actually doing sort of allusions to his role in Evil Dead and some of his other roles there. He definitely has a character who he is, and he plays it very well. You can just see some of the decorations that are just all over this map. It makes it such a fun map to play, and with the improved pacing, it's honestly, it's my favorite map after the first one. So I would actually honestly rank them this map, Outbreak, then Infection. Burger Town, it was okay, it was fun, but the Magnetron super weapon left a lot to be desired, and it just was not as much fun as this map by far. You can see the return of the normal drops, like multiplier or double points for some of you old school players there. They're just kind of waiting for them to line up a little bit so that we can conserve ammo. The Wonder Weapon's very strong, but you do not get a lot of shots with it. This map follows the same sort of layout, not layout, but functional design as the other maps. You can see there's credit terminals all over the walls, so you can get a little bit of credit boosts here and there. The standard wall weapons are back that you can find in most of the maps. This is actually the room that has Exo Health or Juggernaut that some of you older players would know from the previous games. Alright, here you can see bomb detected in gun deck. That's one of the new rounds that came with the carrier mode. Honestly, I feel it's a lot better executed than Survivors and Infection was, whereas Survivors were a complete waste of ammunition, and if you chose not to try to rescue the Survivor, it would penalize you by shutting off your exosuit and power for the entire map. That is not the case in this. Worst case scenario with the bomb rounds is you'll actually just lose access to 3 areas, up to 3 areas, until the end of the round. Pretty much what happens is Atlas troops are spawning in, and they've planted Manticore bombs, and if you defuse the first one, that's it. You'll receive a random drop, and right there, we received a DNA bomb. If you kill the individual soldiers, you get some camo, which can actually help you disarm the bomb if you have a lot of zombies around. But if you don't disarm the bomb, it explodes, and it only affects that section of the map. So if the bombs keep showing up in areas that you know you're not going to go to, you don't even really have to worry about disarming the bombs, and there's no major penalty other than losing access to that room until the end of the round for you. So it's a lot better, in my opinion, as far as playability is concerned. Whereas with the Survivors, it was kind of a frantic hustle to try to help them so that the whole map didn't shut down. Whereas in this one, it's more of, well, if the room's close enough, you can go help them. Otherwise, it doesn't matter so much. Here's one of my favorite new features of this map. It's called Open Fire. Basically what it does is it allows you to continuously fire your weapon without regard to clip size or ammunition. So some of the other weapons, like the PDW and the SAC-3, actually almost become useful during the open fire sequences because the short clip size and small ammo doesn't matter during an open fire session. That does not, however, refill your ammo. I feel that would sort of be a broken drop if it did that as well, and it feels pretty balanced the way it is. We also have the return of the infected rounds. As you can see here, the sort of nice thing in this map is there are actually 2 decontamination stations. It's a much larger map, so depending on what side of the map you're on, you have 2 options to get to decontaminate, and it kind of helps out depending on where you are because of it being such a large map. However, Moonpole, which is the room we're in right now, is probably the preferred one to go to, if only because it's a far more open area. The other one is in MedLab, and it's such a small room that it creates a natural choke point that if a zombie horde is coming, it becomes very difficult to get back out of there. As you can see right now, we're in round 8, and it's only now that the Electro Zombies, or EMZs as people prefer to call them, are starting to show up. In Infection, by now we would have had the EMZs, the Acid Zombies, the Spike Zombies, dogs mixed in there. It's just such a mess all over the place. And this map sort of remedied that frantic feel. As a whole, it feels more like a cohesive map. Now, if I timed that right, you not only heard Oz speaking, you also heard the character talk back to him. I feel like a lot of the people that play zombies by themselves, they kind of miss out on the interactions both between the characters that you're playing as and sometimes even the characters as a whole. There's a lot of story elements that actually come out in the conversations between the characters. I'm not sure if it's in this gameplay or not, but you can actually hear at one point Lennox, that's the Bruce Campbell character, saying about how everything started whenever Atlas dropped a DNA bomb on the prison, and he says that Oz was present for that. That's how he knows that when he shot Oz, Oz would regenerate. So we're kind of learning now that it seems like Oz is kind of an integral part of this zombie story, and hopefully by the end of the 4th map we'll find out exactly what's going on and how Oz is tied in and why these other characters don't seem to be infected like Oz was. Here's the other new drop that came with this map. It's called Explosive Touch. Pretty much you get surrounded by these little spikes that are on fire that fly around you, and they insta-kill anything that gets near you.
Faster reloads are always good.
Now, for being such a large map, it's actually pretty easy to learn and navigate. The map is laid out fairly intuitively. It's not difficult to jump in 2 or 3 games, sort of already know where you're going and where you want to get to, and what the best pathways are to get there. There in the lower right you can see the only upgrade station for this map. Now there are a couple of good train rooms for those of you who like to collect up the zombies and run them around in groups, which you almost have to in this game. It's not really too easy if you're playing on solo or with just 2 people to pick a spot in camp unless your weapons are powered up more than the level that you're on. But the armory is not really a good room, if only because it's got those low sections that make it difficult to jump out of. There are a lot of places to get stuck in that room. Honestly, I like this room here a lot because you can go out towards the edge and come back in again. For a starting room, it's actually a pretty good room to train in, sort of like how Outbreak was with the bus.
Cover me while I reload.
Where are you guys?
Something you might notice with this limbo gun is if you're running around and you fire, the shot will kind of angle off to the side. But if you crouch and aim down the sights, it'll keep a solid horizontal shot. So it's really up to you what you're trying to do, how you want to fire it. It'll stay horizontal long enough if you're running for zombies that are nearby. But if you're trying to clear an entire hallway, it's sometimes worth it just to do the aim down the sights so that you can be sure that it's going to get the whole width of the hallway from beginning to end. And here you can see one of the new zombie types. They're actually teleporting zombies. It looks like they replaced the acid zombies for this map, which I find to be just fantastic. I don't mind the teleporting zombies at all. They're actually pretty easy to deal with. The acid zombies were very infuriating because they would leave the little acid piles all over the ground and you had to kind of avoid where to step. You may have caught it already, but I picked up the teleportation grenades there a little bit ago. What these allow you to do is actually telefrag the zombies. There's an achievement for it. I believe it's telefrag 50 zombies, which is where you teleport to the position that they're in. It'll actually kill the zombies in a radius. Now, there was a little drone that flies through the air. If you can kill it quickly enough, it'll drop a random drop. You can usually see what it is inside it. But as you're shooting it to try to get you off of its trail, it'll drop little packages. Now, some of these packages will actually refill your ammo, and some of them will refill money. Ammo is a pretty slow increase. It's with the ASM-1, I think it came out to be about 4 or 5 bullets per second. It didn't seem too quickly. Definitely not worth it to try to hover over it if there are zombies coming up on you. If there are no zombies or you created a couple of crawlers, it's worth it just to stand there, especially if you have like the limbo and you want to pick up a couple of rounds off of it. The money will actually increase in little increments of 20s. This happens a little bit faster, but like I said, it's the same deal. You don't want to really stand around on that if there's a bunch of zombies coming after you. They'll swarm you pretty quickly. The other thing I love is just the sound effects that they use to couple with each of the powers in this. They've also added a new perk. So in this map you can actually cap out at 6 perks. The new perk is that little satchel symbol you see at the top of my list of 3 on the right there. What that lets you do is actually carry an extra tactical and extra lethal grenade. So you can have 3 and 5 instead of the regular 2 and 4 that you could in previous maps. This gameplay doesn't get to a very high round. There you can see some telefragging on the dogs. We actually make a couple of stupid mistakes here in a little bit, but as of recording this, I've made it to round 29. So close to the achievement, I know. And around round 28, we actually find the return of our buddy, the Goliath zombie. Now, he's come back with a couple of upgrades as well. He's got a lot more armor on him, so it takes a lot more shots to bring him down. And he also has the ability to teleport now. So he's a little bit more of a threat. Now, I can't verify how often he shows up in the later rounds above that, but for that round alone, it took 28 rounds to run into him, so it's not every 10 rounds like it was in Infection. Yeah, you can quickly see why Med Lab is not a good place to stay. It's got very tiny hallways coming in and out of it.
Sentinel. Atlas? Who the hell else is gonna show up?
Now, whenever Atlas drops these bombs, it's usually between 2 and 4 Atlas soldiers showing up. In the upper rounds, I think around 16 or so, you start getting an Atlas Goliath with it. A couple of contact grenades with direct hits, and maybe half of a clip of most guns will actually take him down pretty quickly. It's not too much of a threat, but at the same time, you don't want to run straight for the bomb and try to defuse it without dealing with the Goliath. You can see the security feature of this room, which I actually don't like. I like controlling how I jump, and what this room actually does is put little water jets underneath you. So as you try to cross the map, you end up shooting up into the air. Here's the drone. I didn't quite see what perk it had in it. Well, not really perk, but what drop it had in it. And here you can see the money pile and how quickly that money's coming off there. I got a little too greedy. I tried to sit on it in a corner, and that actually causes me to go down. And then before my partner can actually come down and rescue me, they actually end up going down as well. I would say if you're on the fence and getting this map or not, definitely do it. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed playing it so far. I think I'll put a lot more time into this map than I did in Infection. And so if you're on the fence, definitely pull the trigger. I want to say thank you for watching. If you like the video, it's real quick to leave a like. And if you want, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll try to keep putting out videos that you want to watch.